Hi, it's Tom from Lone Horizons, and this is the second part of our Urban Adventure actual play session of Scarlet Heroes. When we left off, Shekha Brokenstone was on his way back to his contact Mingjia, hoping to find out more information on who was about to make a move against her merchant friend. So that night, Shekha goes back to the inn that he's staying at, and I'm just going to look at the services list again. Let's see. Rented house, in-room, cheap, 2 silver pieces a day. I guess he'll pay that in advance in the morning each time. So he'll pay for that, and he'll pay for his breakfast, which will be 5 coppers. So that will be 2 silver pieces and 5 copper pieces. As I said, I just enjoy keeping track of these little life admin bits and pieces, and it gives you something to spend your gold on as well, because otherwise you just get richer and richer, because you can't go to a shop and buy a sword +1 or something like that. So 2 silver pieces, wasn't it? Yeah, okay, so he now has 3 silver pieces left. Okay, and it's now the next day, so he goes to the tea house in the morning, and I think Mingjia has told him he can always find her there if he needs to speak to her. And he tells her that like a small group of people were talking about Izumi and saying that her habit was getting out of control. She was being reckless and drawing too much attention to herself, and that the rumor is that someone is unhappy about this, and is going to make some kind of move against her. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is another investigation scene. So maybe we should let's roll randomly for the scene, and then based on that we'll decide what Mingjia says to us. Okay. 5. Stake out an actor or location. Oh, that's like what we just did. Whether or not you win the check, your opponent gains a victory point due to delay. Well, we can do that actually. Maybe it's an NPC who's related to all of this. So let's have a look, you've got potential foes lists here. This is criminals, cruel footpad, dark cultist, drunken brawler, gutter mage. Well, let's say Mingjia says, well, I know who she buys the stuff from. Why don't we say it's opium, going with the Imperial China theme. I know where she gets her opium, and I've been trying to get her off the stuff for months now, and it's just impossible. It's like a demon lives inside her now, and it's never satisfied. She just needs more and more, and her business is suffering because of it. But anyway, she gets it from a cultist. That's weird. Dark cultist. There's a cult that sells this stuff, and that's how they get people hooked. And that's how they get people to join them, by getting them hooked on opium, and then they all just sit around in their big cult building, off their faces, and then they do these dark rituals to the Hell Kings, or to the Tide, maybe to the Red Tide itself. They do these rituals, but they're all drug addicts. They're all into opium there, and that's all they do. But anyway, this cultist, is it a man or a woman? It's a man. He is who is he? What kind of person is he? Let's see. Let's check his race. 18. He's shoe-blooded, so that means he's like got orc blood or goblin blood or bugbear blood, hobgoblin blood, mixed with human. So if he's shoe-blooded, that means he's going to have a human name, because he's been living among humans. So let's just roll on what the human side of him is. 7. Imperial. Okay. And what is his name? D10. 10. Zoo. I think that's how you say that. So let's write him down. NPC. Zoo. Imperial. Tide cultist. / drug dealer. Opium dealer. I'll put. Okay, I don't think, my intuition tells me, I don't think Izumi has joined the cult. I'm not going to roll for that. It just feels right, so I'm going with it. But she is buying opium from the cult. So Mingjie recommends staking out Zhu's place where he hangs around. Now, where is that going to be? Maybe it's probably going to be a slum location, right? Let's roll a d20 for that. 3. A dark alleyway. Okay, that's his spot where he deals it from. Right, okay. A dark alleyway in the city. So what was this scene going to be about? Stake out an actor or location. Whether or not you win the check, your opponent gains a victory point due to delay. Okay, so they are going to gain a victory point. Let's put that there. So Shekad goes to this dark alleyway, and I guess he needs to hide again using his peasant rebel thief archetype trait and do the check. Okay, so the check was going to be let's see, 9 plus half the threat of the adventure rounded down. So it's always going to be 10. Okay, that's fine. And we add 5 to this roll because of our bonuses. 4, 5, 6, 11. Yeah, we've made it. Okay, so we succeed. We know we succeed. So how do we succeed? We're down the other end of the alleyway, Shekad, hiding, and he sees a guy. What kind of shoe is he going to be? I mean, what? He's not a shoe, but he's shoe-blooded. So which type will it be? Let's see. Let's look up the shoe here. So there is bugbear, goblin, hobgoblin, or orc. So that's 4 types, right? Yeah. Okay, so we'll roll a d4, and that'll give us an idea of what he looks like and stuff. 4. Orc. Okay, so he's a half orc, basically. I put imperial, didn't I? Imperial / half orc. Tide cultist. Okay, so he's gonna Shekad is gonna stake him out. He's watching him. He sees different people come and go, buying opium from him, doing these deals, and we could ask the Oracle: does he see? Does he witness? Does he witness an encounter and a conversation between Zhu and one of maybe the higher ups in the cult? So I think that's likely. Let's roll for it. 18. Yes. So one of his bosses from the cult comes to check up on him, and we do, with our victory, with our succeeding of this in this scene, right? We still get, it says, whether or not you win the check, your opponent gains a victory point due to delay, but we do still get a clue and a victory point as well. So don't forget that. So now we've got 2 clues and 2 victory points. So the fact that we got a clue means we must learn something from this, right? So this person talks to him, and maybe are they going to mention? Do they mention? Let's ask that. Do they mention Izumi? I'm going to say again, likely. 18, yes, they do mention Izumi. Okay, so what are they gonna do? We need to find out who is kind of in who is the antagonist, and then we need to take them down. So we're trying to get information about that, right? Let's think, what could they be talking about that would give us some information? And what could we do next? We could do an action scene next, right? So we could think about that. So let's look at the action scenes that are coming up. Pass an incriminating or disgraceful clue onto an actor who can make sure important people learn into the evidence, or face the foe's best warrior or the foe himself if this is a climactic battle and they're fit for combat. Face a fight instead of a check. I think what we're going to do is this person who meets him is going to be one of the higher ups in the cult. Maybe not the cult leader, right? But there's someone that we could get information out of. So let's roll them up quickly. So, we've got all these motivation tables and stuff like that as well. Let's not bother with these until we get to the actual antagonist, and then we'll flesh them out more. Anyway, this person, what is their race? 15. It's a dwarf. Okay. Let's get. Are they male or female? Female. Let's get her name. Dwarven names. D10. 3. Borbala. Okay, so Borbala. Oh, I haven't put their genders here. Okay, so I'll just put F M dwarf. I'm just going to put dwarf cultist F. And actually we can put Izumi opium addict. So Borbala, the dwarf cultist. Let's see. Oh, look at this. Their most notable appearance trait. Let's just roll that for her. 11. Wears less clothing than propriety would recommend. Okay. So she's kind of scantily clad. All right. She's just, maybe that's part of how she recruits people to the cult, maybe. Okay. So they talk about Izumi, but Zhu addresses Borbala by her name, so we get Borbala's name, and she goes off. And I think the next thing we want to do is an action scene. Yeah, I did our clue and victory points and stuff like that. And we don't need to roll to see if the enemy gets a victory point because we know that they did. I'll rub out a clue because we're going to go for an action scene now. And let's roll for it just to give us ideas. You could just pick the most appropriate one. I'm imagining we're going to maybe attack Borbala or something, or try and beat information out of her, or talk to her in some way, maybe. D10, 7. Rally an actor and their comrades to oppose the foe. That's difficult because the only person we know is Ming Jia, and she doesn't have any comrades. Her only comrade is Izumi, who is the target. I'm I think that doesn't make sense. I'm going to re-roll. 10. Sabotage a tool, evidence, or ally of the foe so that it betrays their attempted use of it. You know what? I'm going to just... Borbala is our lead here, right? So I think I want to go and interrogate her, basically. So let's see. There's not that apart from face a fight. Okay, I think face the foe's best warrior. Face a fight instead of a check. Why don't we have a fight with her and try and beat her into submission, basically? So she walks off down the alley, and we're gonna go after her, and I'm gonna make I'm just gonna ambush her. That's what I'm gonna do. Or is this more like a conflict scene? Waylay a minion of the foe, face a fight instead of a check. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Actually, that's what it is. All right, so if you succeed at a conflict scene, your enemy's victory point total decreases by 1. Okay, so we don't need to spend a clue to do this. All right, it's been a while since I've done an urban adventure, so it's not like all just coming to me naturally. So I'm learning along with you. So yeah, that makes more sense. Waylay a minion of the foe, face a fight instead of a check. Okay, so she's going off down the alley. She's going down a kind of maze in the slums of narrow alleys, and we're following her. And we're going to ambush her, but let's see. You've got foe statistics listed here, so we can choose what her stats are based on what's most likely for her. She's one of the more higher ups in the cult, right? So maybe she could have, say, soldier statistics, which means she's a one-hit die enemy with all these stats. So yes, okay. And then fight difficulty. We're going to ambush her, but why don't we actually roll on this table to see if there's anyone else, if anyone else will join the fight, right? So we'll roll a D8. Difficulty. Why does it go up to 11 plus? That's interesting. Do you add something to it? Maybe you add the threat level of the adventure. Let's do that. So the threat is 1. So we'll roll a D8 and add 1. Oh, that's a lot. 7. A sorcerer plus 1d6 plus threat level vermin. Okay, wow. Right. So maybe she's the sorcerer. She is a dwarf cultist, right? She's a tide cultist. Maybe she has access to dark magic. So that means, she is sorcerer level plus 1d6 plus threat vermin enemies. And vermin enemies, you can see, they're the weakest type, right? They have low morale. They only do 1d4 damage. They've got not very good armor class, and they're one hit die. Okay, so 1d6 plus threat. So that's 1d6 plus 1, 5, 6. So basically, I think what happens is we're going to ambush her and sneak attack her. But when this happens, a load of cultists jump out who she was going to meet and attack us, okay? I am going to leave it here for tonight, but I'm going to carry on with this video a bit later. Okay, it's now the next day, and I'm back and ready to finish this conflict scene by having a fight, which is going to be quite a big fight, but as it's Scarlet Heroes, it might be over quite quickly. Well, for better or for worse. So, Borbala, she has sorcerer statistics. Her hit dice are the same as the threat level of the adventure, which is 1. So I'm going to write her down here. Oh, I've got her there. But for the purposes of tracking hit dice and things, let's write down Borbala, hit dice 1, and then we've got her other details here. So her armor class is 8, AC 8. Her plus to hit, her attack bonus is plus T. So her attack bonus is plus 1. Okay. She does 1d4 damage. Her morale is 9. And her skill check is plus 2 if she needs to make a skill check. And her movement rate is 30 feet per turn. Okay, now as she's a sorcerer, she is going to have one spell, I think, at level 1. I'll just double check that. Let's see. So we'll go to, I think, the red sorcery section. Spell preparation per day. 29. Cast level 1. They get one spell. Yeah, that's right. So let's go to, it's not going to be cleric spells. It's going to be magic user spells. And we've got 10 of them per level here. So we could roll a d10. Why don't we do that? I was gonna choose a kind of offensive spell for her, just so that she stands a chance in the fight. But as we're sort of generating everything randomly, let's do the same here and roll a die for it and see what she gets. 7. Lens of the Enlightened Scribe. That's interesting. Let's see. Lens of the Enlightened Scribe. A sorcerer has need of reading many... Oh no, she's got a really bad one. A sorcerer has need of reading many ancient things, and there is not always time to learn the languages involved. This spell allows the wizard to read any text, magical or otherwise, as if it were written in her native language. The spell lasts a minimum of 10 minutes per level, but it will not end until the caster stops reading a text. All right, I'm going to give her one more chance, okay? Because without that, she is basically the same as the vermin rabble who she's with. So we'll roll one more time. 1. Amber cloud of somnolence. Okay. A yellow cloud of slumber billows around the subjects of this spell. So it's sleep from D&D. Putting a full 2d4 hit dice of them into a drugged sleep should they fail their saving throw. Right. The effect billows outward in a 10-foot burst from the central target point of the spell, first affecting those creatures who are nearest. Creatures of 3 or more hit dice or levels are immune to the spell. The sleep lasts for 10 minutes and the victims cannot be woken earlier by anything less than a sharp kick or slap. Okay, so she's gonna have that. One of that. So she could potentially put Shekad to sleep in one round. So it's Amber Cloud of Somnolence. So that must mean sleepiness or something in some old English. Okay, so let's go back to where it had that table of enemies, because we need to get the rabble, the six vermin class enemies who are with her. Here we go, vermin. So they are going to be tide cultists. So I'm not going to write down all of that again. I don't really need to. I can just put tide cultists. Tide cultist 1. Well, they only have 1 hit die, don't they? So I'll just make a note of who is still alive, basically. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so they've got armor class of 9. They don't get an attack bonus. They do 1d4 damage. Their morale is 7. They don't get a skill bonus, and they can only move 20 feet. That's interesting. Okay, so I think they're all armed with daggers. Kind of imagine they're like curved cult daggers, that they use for sacrificing people. She is as well. So The way we're going to do it is theatre of the mind combat to keep things moving quickly. This is what I normally do at low levels of Scarlet Heroes play anyway, when there's, in this situation, we're going to be the one ambushing her. And so we're going to get to do a lot of damage in the first round anyway. I don't think there's much point drawing out a map and moving counters around or anything when I expect, and this could be famous last words, I expect it's going to be over quite quickly. So let's get on with the ambush. I think what we need to do is a skill check for Shekad to make sure that he can kind of, tail her without her knowing he's there, and therefore be able to ambush her and get a sneak attack on her. If we can do that, I've decided that he's going to use the flat of his sword blade to bring it down on the back of her head and hopefully knock her out, then drag her down an alley, wake her up and interrogate her. We'll do subdual damage, which is a rule, I don't know which OSR games it's in, but it means if you use a blunt weapon or the flat of a sword, you can reduce someone to 0 hit points and they won't die, they will get knocked out. So yeah, let's do a skill check first. I guess the check DC is going to be 10, like all the others have been for this adventure. So it is 2d8, isn't it? Where's that? And he is going to add +2 for his dexterity and +3 for his peasant rebel trait. So that's +5 bonus. Yes, he passes. Okay, so he follows her down the maze of alleys in the slums where they are until they get to somewhere that's quite secluded and empty. She is sort of, I think what we'll say is she's approaching a door, and it looks like she's going to go through it. And so before she reaches the door of this tenement building or something, Shekad jumps out behind her and brings the sword, the flat of the sword, down on her head. So he gets to do his attack roll, and he is going to get a +4 attack bonus for doing a sneak attack or an ambush, whatever it calls it in this. And he also has his damage die and his fray die. So his damage die for the longsword is 1d8. Where did I put that? Here we go. And then he has his fray die of 1d6, which we'll use here. This is kind of overkill at this point because it's just her, right? But after he deals with her, he's going to be rushed by, there's going to be a kind of counter ambush by all the Tide cultists. So let's see, let's just roll all the dice, and his damage bonus is ×3 for each die because of the ambush. Okay, 17 on the attack roll. So as you remember, we add his attack bonus, which is +1 with the longsword, and then the enemy's armor class, which is here 8, and the target number to beat is always 20. So he's definitely done that. I'll just double check that. Let's see, because I was ill for a while in between shooting the combat video and this video, so I just want to check. Yeah, adds their dexterity Oh no, that's for initiative for the other non-player characters. Yeah, add your relevant attribute modifier, your target's armor class, and your attack bonus. So under attack here, I've put +1 because he doesn't have a strength bonus, but he does have a +1 attack bonus. Okay, so anyway, he gets +5 bonus to this, and he's definitely hit. And then we'll read the dice as well. So, I mean, he's definitely knocked her out. That is 6, which is 2 points of damage. That is 2, which is 1 point. So ×3, that would be 3 points for the fray die, and then 6 points for the damage die, which is loads. He absolutely batters the back of her head with the flat of his sword, and she just goes down like a sack of potatoes. It's a shame the Tide cultists aren't there yet. I mean, I could have made them jump out, but this is the way it makes sense to me for the story and the adventure and how it's going so far. So I thought, sometimes it's good to just go with the flow and not do too much oracle rolling. Anyway, she gets knocked out, but then the door flies open of the building that she was going to enter, and 6 men and women in robes jump out and rush at Shekad and attack him. So I think, what will we say? I think they're going to have their turn to attack. That is actually quite dangerous and risky. I don't know if this is the best way of running this fight or the most likely way to avoid being killed. So he is actually going to be attacked 6 times now. Right. And he has 4 hit points. Okay. Well, let's go for it. At least they don't have fray dice. So the Tide cultists, they don't get a attack bonus at all, which is good. And they only do 1d4 damage. All right. So let's get a d4. I think some of my d4s might be missing, actually. Okay, so Tide Cultist 1, the target number to hit is 20. That's a good hit. He rolls a 17. He doesn't add his attack bonus. He just adds Shekad's armor class, which is 5. So 22, he hits. He has rolled a 2 on his damage die, which is 1 point of damage. I'm going to just put this here so that you can see that if you're not watching on your tiny phone screen. He takes 1 hit point off Shekad. He slashes his arm, so his current hit points are 3. Okay, so then we have Tide Cultist 2. This has gone terribly, hasn't it? If I should have allowed him to have them there when he did all that damage, because extra damage points spill over onto other enemies in this. Anyway, okay, Tide Cultist 2 rolls a 2, which is a 7 total, so that is a miss. Tide Cultist 3, a 5, so that is 10, that is a miss as well. Tide Cultist 4, 16. Okay, so with an armor class of 5, that is 21. So yes, that is a hit. He has rolled a 3. So that's 1 point of damage. This one stabs Shekad in the stomach, unfortunately. Now we have Tide Cultist 5. A 2, that's definitely a miss. And then Tide Cultist 6. 12, what is that? Plus 5 is 17, so that is a miss as well. Okay. Now we are back to Shekad. Now we could try and flee, or we could fight on. We've got 2 hit points. I think he's going to go for it, because he might be able to kill half of them, and the others might fail a morale check and run away. So he's going for it. Okay, he's going to attack Tide Cultist 1. Let's see. So here we go. Here's his damage die and his fray die. He doesn't get his ambushing bonus this time, so he's just going to get a +1 attack bonus. Tide Cultist 1, we're aiming for a 20, and we'll check what his armor class is in a second. 10. Let's see, his armor class is 9. Okay, so that is 19 plus 1 for his attack bonus, which is 20. He just hits. Okay, and he's rolled quite well here. Okay, so his damage die, he's rolled a 4. That is 1 point. So that kills Tide Cultist 1. He just slashes across the guy's chest, and he's wearing a robe, so it cuts through his robe and kills him instantly. And then the fray die, he's rolled a 6, which is 2 points of damage, and then he whirls around and slashes through Tide Cultist 2 and Tide Cultist 3. Tide Cultist 3, I imagine he spins around and just chops the guy's arm off, and he falls to the floor screaming and then passes out, bleeding onto the cobblestones of the alley. So now we've got them down to half their number, which means they need to do a morale check. And I think the morale check is done in the usual way for OSR games. For some reason, the morale rules aren't listed in the combat section of the rulebook. They're actually listed in the bestiary. I don't know why that is. It's a bit weird, right? So yeah, morale. 2d6 are rolled and compared to the creature's morale. If the roll is higher, the creature breaks and will seek to escape the fray. Okay, so I'm going to do one roll for each enemy. Okay, how many d6? Let's just do it 3 times. So Tide Cultist 4, what is his morale? 7. Okay, so if he rolls 8 or more, he's out. Yeah, Tide Cultist 4 runs away. Tide Cultist 5, oh, he looks at his friend whose arm was cut off, and he gets a murderous glint in his eye and grabs his dagger. His grip hardens around the dagger hilt, and he advances towards Shekad. And then Tide Cultist 6, oh, yep, he looks down at the armless guy and puts his hand over his mouth and almost pukes. And then he drops his dagger and runs away down the alley. Okay, so we've got to fight Tide Cultist 5 still. Let's go for him. Oh, he's coming for us, actually. So, yeah, he's going to roll a 2. That is definitely a miss. That is great. Now it's our go again. He is on his own. Maybe he should do a morale check, actually, because he's on his own. We'll do that next turn. Okay, so what was it? 1d8 and 1d6 for the fray die. Okay, a 4. So 4 plus 9 would be 13. And our attack bonus is +1, so that's 14. And then his armor class... Oh, sorry, yeah, I did his armor class. So we've missed with the attack roll, but remember, we still get to use our fray die, which is rolled a 3, which is 1 point of damage. So that guy gets run through with the longsword. So who got killed? These 3 got killed, and then there was one more. Okay, so that's how many bodies there are there, because we're going to search them in a minute. All right, so Borbala the dwarf, she's still knocked out, lying on the ground. So he pulls her like into a shadowy corner and like shakes her by the scruff of her neck and wakes her up. And what is he gonna get out of her? We have. Firstly, let's just deal with what we get for succeeding in this conflict scene. If you succeed at a conflict scene, your enemy's victory point total decreases by 1. So the enemy now only has 1 victory point. Do we still get a victory point? Let's see. If you succeed, you win the scene and gain a victory point. Yeah, so that's fine. So we do get a victory point. So we're now on 3 and they're on 1. But we don't get a clue for doing the conflict scene. So does that mean she's not going to give us any information, actually? But we do have 2 clues already in our back pocket from before. Okay. It would be best to sort of keep track of what the clues are, so that you know, if one of them was the location of some enemy hideout or something, you could make a note of that. Because I'm now playing for a second time because I had a break in between last night's session and tonight's. I've sort of forgotten what we did in the other scenes. Oh. And we have now played a 3rd scene, so we'll mark that on there. What are we going to get from Borbala then? I think we can just say we interrogate her and she tells us something, and that can be one of those 2 clues, and we'll use that in the next scene anyway. So yeah, what is she gonna tell us? We can ask the oracle, okay? Let's see, where is it? Oh, hang on. Yeah, we can ask the oracle what she tells us. We could say, is it? Oh, well, we've got the building. We're outside this building right here. So he can ask her what happens in that building. So he can say, is that one of your hideouts? And let's see what she says. We're gonna say it's likely because there were other cultists in there. We'll say it's likely. 18, yes, okay, yeah, it is. She says, and he asks her who is making a move against Izumi the merchant. I need to know. Is she going to tell us that at this point? We're only 3 scenes in. She might do. Let's see what happens. So are we going to roll for whether she tells us or not? Yeah, just whether she tells us or not, I think. So let's say it's unknown. Does she tell him who is making the move against Izumi? 5. No. Okay. So she spits in his face and tells him to get lost. And maybe she says, I've already led you to our hideout. Don't make me, like, if I give you any more info than that, they'll kill me. The higher ups will kill me. Just let me go. And I think Shekad, he's not going to just butcher her in cold blood on the street after he's already defeated her and she's led him to this hideout. So maybe what he does is he goes through her pockets and says, give me, like, he basically mugs her because he's a rogue, he's a thief, he's not like a totally spotless character and good person. So he says, give me whatever you've got on you and never let me see your face again. Get out of this city and don't come back. And then she runs off. We can get some loot from her, I hope, and we can get some from the 4 bodies that are lying around. Let's see. Treasures beyond price. Here we go. So here, you see in the trove types, I really like this. It's got all these different ones. So like there are type G, type C, type H, and type M. So the H ones, you've got Shiny Loving Beast Nest, you've got Scruffy Bandit's Purse, and you've got Minor Intelligent Monster, and all the way up to Ancient Ghosts Relics and Junzi's Private Purse. I don't know what a Junzi is. Scruffy Bandit Purse contains 1d6 gold, 25% chance of 1 cheap jewellery, 5% chance of 1 costly jewellery. That's interesting. That sounds like we might get quite a lot of money out of these cultists if we're treating them as scruffy bandits. So I think what I'm going to do is roll a d6 for each of them, and not Borbala. We'll say Borbala definitely has loot. I'll roll a d6 for each of the ones that we killed, and if it's 1 to 3, they don't have anything. If it's 4 to 6, they will have loot. So how many is that? 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so 2 of them had nothing, 2 of them had loot. All right, good. So that means we'll roll 3 times for loot on the Scruffy Bandit's Purse. And the treasure in this is quite detailed. You can treat it as detailed as you want, really. and spend as much time as you want detailing kind of all the how things are made and what materials they're made out of and stuff like that. Anyway, so we got 3 people to loot. So 3d6 gold, that will be 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to make notes here. 4 GP, 25% chance of 1 cheap jewelry, 5% of 1 costly jewelry. Just going to roll these 3 sets of dice at once. Okay, so let's see. 25% chance of 1 cheap jewelry. Okay, so we'll say 1 to 25 would be a yes for that. So that one is no, that one is no, that one is no. Okay, what about the costly jewelry? 5% chance of 1 costly jewelry. No. What's that? 60. No. And that is, oh, wait, that's 3, right? That's the 10s, just 0, 3. Okay, so we did get 1 costly jewelry out of it. It must have been Borbala. Oh, that's good. Great. So costly jewelry is worth 1d6 times 100 gold. That's going to be more than we're being paid to find out who the antagonist is. So 400 gold is the price, the worth of the costly jewelry. And what is it? Let's find out. Let's see. Jewelry, 1d12. 11. It is a nose ring. She's wearing it. She's wearing the nose ring. Okay. And what is it made from? Let's see. Valuable nose ring. Yeah, so it's going to be metal. It has to be gold, right? Let's just say it's gold. You can roll on that. You can say it's studded or inlaid with different jewels and things like that, but I'm just going to say it's a gold nose ring. Okay, so it actually wasn't really a big hoard like I thought it was going to be. 400 gold piece worth treasure and 4 gold pieces. So we'll write that down. Where is treasure is listed here. So that will be, he's now got 42 gold pieces. And he has the gold nose ring. I cut the sheet in half because the other half was just for spells. And so you get a tiny little box to write in for treasure. I don't like it. 400 GP. There we go. All right. And that is that scene successfully done. Did we have to roll to see if the enemy makes any progress as well? Let's find out. After each investigation or action scene, roll a d10. So that was actually a conflict scene, so we don't have to. All right. And I can't remember if I mentioned yesterday or not. We're aiming to get to 10 victory points, which means we finish the adventure successfully. If the enemy gets to 10 victory points, we have lost. So I think we're going to actually leave it there, because what I wanted to do was not do a series of actual play videos just for the urban adventure and do the whole adventure. I wanted to sort of show you how it works by doing the actual play. And I think we've sort of covered most of the sequence, the procedure of it. So basically it says, continue to draw scenes until either your hero or their opponent reaches 10 victory points. If your opponent reaches 10 points first, they win. If your hero reaches 10 points, you immediately move into an action scene without needing to spend a clue. If you win this action scene, you defeat your foe and win the adventure. If you fail, you suffer the usual consequences and must spend clues to reattempt an action scene that will win the adventure. Oh, okay. Yeah, so you get a second chance if you're still alive after failing the action scene. After a winner is determined, subtract the opponent's victory points from the hero's total. If the score is 5 or more, it's a complete victory. 1 to 4 points is a partial victory. -1 to -4 points is a partial loss. And -5 points or less is a complete loss. You can use this final margin of victory to decide on fallout from the event. Right. Okay. So that's how it works. One last thing. We got reduced to 2 hit points, right? At the end of each fight in Scarlet Heroes, you are allowed to kind of patch yourself up without needing to have specially bought bandages for it or any kind of like first aid kit or anything like that. And you can patch up 2 hit points for, it doesn't matter what level you are, it's always 2 hit points. And it has to be 2 hit points that you lost in that fight. So luckily for Shekad, he can go back up to his maximum 4 hit points, which is great. So if I was going to carry on playing through this adventure and finish it, I think probably what I would do next is we've got that hideout, cult hideout building right next to us in the street here. And I think what I might do is go to the list of action scenes, and I would use a clue. I would spend one of our 2 clues, and I would look at that: despoil or ruin a sanctum or safe house belonging to the foe. Roll a die. On an odd result, face a fight as well as the check. So that could be, we could break into the building and smash everything up in there. Maybe you would break in there and you'd find out it's some kind of opium lab, and you could smash all their alchemy equipment like calcinators and whatever other stuff that was featured in Morrowind, which is what I'm remembering. It could be that, or what you could do is you could switch to a dungeon adventure and go in there, and if it's a tenement building, say, then it's going to have multiple floors and multiple little shabby rooms in it where people live that have been converted into the cult hideout. And you could actually run that as a dungeon using the dungeon adventure rules. So that would be interesting as well. And then that could form one action scene, just going through a kind of mini dungeon. So that could be really good. So anyway, that's the end of this part of the series. And next time we will run a wilderness adventure, which will turn into a dungeon adventure when we find a location to loot. And I think next time it's going to be a totally new adventure for Shekad, and he's just going to be kind of roaming the land looking for adventure until he finds some location that will have treasure and monsters in it, and he can go in and loot the place. So also, just one note about next time as well. First thing I'll do when we start is I will give him now 1 XP for this play session. Okay, even though he hasn't finished the whole adventure, we did do a play session, so he now has 2 XP, which I think, I'll just check, means he can level up at the start of the next video. Let's just see, advancement 22. I'm like 99% sure I'm right. Yes, level 2 XP needed is 2. So we'll do a bit of leveling up as well. All right. So hopefully you've enjoyed this one. I had fun playing through this, and we've created a little group of NPCs who you could bring back later in later adventures and things like that, who are still living in the city, if they're still alive at the end of it. You can really get endless adventures out of just this one book, I think, which is really nice. So for now, I'll say bye and see you in the next video.